From gangster SpongeBob on gas station t-shirts in the 2000s to AI HD gangster Gumball in SpongeBob in 2025, nothing is new underneath the sun. But why? Recently, I've stumbled upon tons of cartoons from Nickelodeon to Cartoon Network that have been gangsterified with the help of AI, from sipping on some scissor to making profitable cooks with Jesse as Patrick. Nothing's off the table when it comes to this cartoon cinematic multiverse that Instagram and TikTok have created, a demon child. But history does repeat itself. Remember the Bugs Bunny gangster try-hard art, as well as these other ones depicting innocent old-school cartoon characters from Looney Tunes as mafia bosses? Whoever pioneered this started a trend. All the AI did was make it easier to give the people what they already seeked for, what they wanted. I guess the harsh contrast of a colorful beloved character actually breaking out of its given mold and practicing free will really piques people's curiosity, as these AI generated clips are going mega viral, with some saying they would pay for this to be transformed into a longer series. One comment saying, if they don't make this illegal, Hollywood will be completely irrelevant very soon. I would pay to watch a longer movie version of this. A reply to SpongeBob in Vietnam. I see this coming in a couple of years. I believe that sooner or later people will be able to cheaply produce enough AI generated content to make long form movies or animations and then paywall them just like streaming companies, or just straight up post it on TikTok or YouTube for ad money. But this time the categories you would be able to choose from would be infinite, because that is what AI is good at, producing artwork very fast. Though some criticize the value of the art because of this. Not only can you get SpongeBob in wartime, but SpongeBob as a depressed lighthouse keeper who begins to be haunted, or Gumball in a Quentin Tarantino type film. The possibilities are endless. Even if they get sued into oblivion, there are so many fans of these cartoons. With AI tool access getting cheaper and cheaper, you get non-stop content on your favorite niche with your favorite characters explaining it all. This is already going on with AI voices. On TikTok, you can find hundreds of videos of AI Peter from Family Guy giving you philosophical advice, teaching you about geopolitics and the stock market, all while someone completes a Minecraft parkour obstacle over and over again. Peak humanity. SpongeBob and Patrick are literally teaching people about the correct Christian stance on weed, and the masses are not only loving it, they're eating it right up. They are having serious discussions in the comment section about it, with one guy straight up quoting scripture. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. If you're smoking, then you're not sober. And reasonable stances like moderation is key. Damn, this one was an eye-opener. We also have Mordecai and Rigby giving us Harvard-level business knowledge, to Benson giving relationship advice. This content is endless and have entire pages dedicated to fulfilling the demand. But it also begs the question, will this cause any long-term harm? First of all, we know animation takes a lot of time and thought put into it. Every drawn thing within the frame was put there with a purpose by a human. If kids grow up with AI-generated cartoons as a norm, what would those filler details do to their brains in the long term? I'm talking about the background filler stuff that AI tends to do a lot of when trying to, create a title for stores or products, just being random letters or blurbs. We already know that content does have influence over children. For example, the whole viral trend where people on TikTok and Insta would show how their kids that were born and raised in the United States speaking English with an American accent, after watching Peppa Pig, they would begin to speak with a heavy British accent. They picked it up. Now imagine if Peppa Pig had random filler stuff in the background of the cartoon that made no sense or had no meaning. Would kids then begin to apply this to their own artwork and way of thinking, believing that it's normal for background stuff to be a nonsensical mess? This is probably brainrot for adults as well. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years they come out with a scientific journal saying it advances Alzheimer's or something, warning adults not to consume too much AI-generated content. But AI is getting better, so maybe that will fix itself? Kids shouldn't be watching this anyway. I think the closest thing we had to this back in the 2000s were YouTube poops, but those were low quality and chopped, not as aesthetically pleasing to the eye. This is on a whole nother dystopian level. There's also the no context aspect of these AI generated media. They are often posted as is, with no description or hard narratives, just straight action, which sure, that's good for retaining attention, leading to success for the content creator, but is it good for a developing brain, or just a brain at all? I remember SpongeBob getting similar criticism from intellectuals claiming it caused short attention spans and was nonsense that wasn't educational. But at least the SpongeBob was human-made art and had layers and deep meaning behind episodes that led to some good thinking. AI-generated art created by who knows who, and what intentions they have for the viewer. Take for example the account KidPower HQ, recently discovered by Raymundo for posting what looked like friendly animations created with AI, depicting kids eating cheese pizza and whatnot, standing for CP. Being a dark innuendo for something inappropriate, CSAM materials. From a glance to a parent, it looks like your average children's program, but for a certain sect of depraved individuals, this is a dog whistle for something sinister. There's also another trend going on where people create kid-friendly looking AI animated content, if that even exists, in the theme of Italian Brainrot, in the effort to then jump scare the children watching with graphic gore adjacent content. Here's someone with a fresh TikTok account shows us how they are planning on doing it to scare brainrot kids on YouTube Shorts. One top comment replying to this tactics is, "This is actually messed up. Why are you guys saying to add Funky Town? It's just real gore. It's not funny, it's just messed up." One commenter even ended up giving tips to this mystery poster, saying don't do the lagging effect they could notice. Now imagine a world where high quality human-made art becomes a rarity, something expensive, and only unblocked through expensive subscriptions, and a world where PBS Kids free educational entertainment is defunded, and the lower classes lift with AI-generated media made to advance profits. Will the IQ of our nation go up, or will we fulfill the prophecy as told in Idiocracy? They wore Crocs, by the way, America's favorite Walmart slippers. Another popping strange niche in the Brainrot AI community is Black Despicable Me and Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, I know that sounds completely insane, where they use AI to make the famous animated characters black. People in the comments calling it African AI TikTok, as the backgrounds are also depicted as huts and dirt, which some in the comments are saying is racist, as this belongs to a niche of memes that just use black people as the butt of the joke, like the infamous black boy in a wheelchair meme used heavily in the TikTok comments, or the Down syndrome black kid playing basketball meme. This is a whole category of AI creations now, and really reminds me of how races were characterized throughout American history for entertainment, always being cartoonishly exaggerated, features and all. Once again, history is repeating itself. Okay, but those are AI cartoons or animations. People are also creating AI horror clips, which are beyond unsettling, and it being created by AI is even more fitting, as the nightmare blend of AI trying to generate nonsense with human intervention to fit a gothic cybernetic aesthetic creates something truly unique in the realm of horror media. Mixing a computer with a head, it's like stepping into another world and bringing back the footage, though it is mainly up to the viewer to interpret, as the meanings behind the posts are vague, and some could just be labeled as horror slop, with little to no meaning behind it, other than being an art piece. Also using old internet mysteries like the guy everyone sees in their dream, and making them come to life. I don't think AI art is going anywhere anytime soon, it is here to stay. Does this all count as brain rot though, or should we respect it as legitimate art? We don't know exactly what parts were purposely chosen to be there by a human being or by an AI, leaving a question of how much human intervention does there have to be in order to consider something art when creating with the help of AI tools. I think the brain rot universe of Tung 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 Sahur has solidified the idea that these AI generated characters and aesthetics, these realms, can be commercialized, with it blowing up and turning into a whole money pit. The TikTok shop literally sells figurines, and other places sell the themed plushies, even going as far as taking the show on the road in the form of a theatrical performance. Yeah, they had their own concert in Lima, Peru already, and it sold out. Shout out to them for grinding it out, I guess. This is where we are headed though. AI art is being normalized and taken seriously, and it's come to life, and it doesn't even need a proper lore or storyline to sell. Just create an interesting character with an interesting name, and you may have the next big hit on your hands that other people will then take and capitalize off of. The ultimate ironic twist, as the major controversy against AI generated art is that it's stealing from real artists. Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday book, also called The First 50 Years, is a peek inside Jeffrey Epstein's inner world, composed of praises towards the man and his interests, from his fascination and scientific theories explaining the origin of life, to layered writings that are filled with hidden meaning, and strange artworks that were produced for him. This book, at first glance, may seem like a cop-out to providing real evidence, but it still speaks volumes, and in this video, we will try to decipher this book. Every piece of this book says a lot about this man and who he truly was, and the table of contents alone reveals his connections and aspects of his life he truly valued and wanted others to know he loved, or at least his close ones, with girlfriends and girl-friends being two separate chapters, as well as a chapter simply titled Children. This is creepier knowing he didn't have any kids of his own, or at least that we know of. Looking past the easy connections we could make with the names revealed in this book and the whole Trump signature and giant chick, which only further proves his involvement with the man, Epstein is humanized and brought down from his evil villain-like status when reading this book and its many letters written to him, truly showing his lasting impact on the people around him, positive and negative. Epstein believed he had a true and deep understanding of life that other people couldn't grasp to realize. They were NPCs to be controlled. He lived in a world where most everyday people he interacted with were gullible and easy to persuade, understanding that a mind with confidence would be able to achieve anything. He thought of himself as a man higher than morality and laws. He was never like the rest, transcending social barriers. He knew that throughout history, rich and powerful men were the people who dictated reality, creating norms that were beyond normal quote-unquote NPC thinking. Jeff was his own god in a sense. He was the enlightened one, and he felt most comfortable as the subjugator. Knowing this, it is more believable to accept that he would never want to be alive under the control of anything or anyone. His ego was massively inflated by those around him, and it's pretty apparent when you start reading this book. As this was his main purpose in life, he would rather die for his beliefs than be punished for them. He did not deal well with disrespect, as seen in the interviews he had with those lawyers. Page 157, right before the famous Donald Trump chick photo, there's a letter that gives us a personal perspective revealing him. Dear Jeffrey, since we first met some 30 years ago, I never imagined I would open New York Magazine and read Jeffrey Epstein, International Man of Mystery. Jeffrey, I care about you, and those that really know you know that you are not a mystery man. You are enigmatic to most that think differently, those without your incisive sense as to how the world works. The magic that you possess is your remarkable capacity to arrive at solutions. It's always been Oscar Wilde and Jeffrey Epstein that were always right. You are perceptive, insightful, concise, all in 30 seconds. If you don't get it in 30 seconds, you will not get it. The moment will have passed. Your centered individuality, your lack of desire for public recognition, reminds me of a story I once heard about the Irish playwright Samuel Beckett. He spent his life avoiding the public eye. None was a greater sense of displeasure than recognition from the teeming masses. So the story goes like this. Beckett was with his mistress in Morocco and received a telegram from Ireland with the news he had been awarded the Nobel Prize. His reaction: "This is the worst news I have ever received. A word from the wise to the wise is sufficient. Jeffrey, I love you as a brilliant and unpredictable friend. May you always maintain your inner solitude. I wish you health, stealth, and contrived wealth. Not necessarily in that order. Happy birthday, Joseph Pagano." This letter was pointing Jeffrey right out, complimenting him for his dominance and style of navigating the public eye, also warning him to keep a low profile in the most subtle way, as to not give away his true secret that keeps him motivated, something that some may assume both the writer of this letter directed to Jeffrey and Jeffrey himself know about, a common theme we find in these letters, talking about things in code. Jeffrey's friends know his biggest secret, but adopted his perspective on it and did not see it as an evil, depraved thing at the time, because of how influential Jeffrey was in convincing them that it was just the quote-unquote lifestyle of a super successful, intelligent man that was beyond being basic. At this stage in his life, the early 2000s, Jeffrey had reached his peak wealth and was in his own little paradise he carved out for himself. Epstein claimed to manage money only for billionaires, though no public records confirm other clients besides Wexner, and owned properties in New York, Palm Beach, New Mexico, Paris, and a private island in the Caribbean. Bringing us to this photo. A picture says 1,000 words. I wonder what a drawing says. Found on page 155. To the left, we get a glimpse of how Jeffrey Epstein was perceived by his unknown friend back in 1983. Jeffrey is depicted as a middle-aged guy with black hair, light in skin color, has a grin on his face as he hands a lollipop to a green shirt girl with blonde hair, purposely choosing her as his type that he likes. We know for a fact they are young because of the way the illustrator portrayed them cartoonishly. Really goes to show how Jeffrey was open about it to those around him even in 1983. We should also notice the wear and rips in his jeans, suggesting that he was broke in that era of his life, or at least that's how he thought of himself as. We know after leaving Bear Stearns in 1981, Epstein founded his consulting firm Intercontinental Assets Group, Inc. Its business was recovering money for wealthy clients who had lost funds to bad investments, fraud, or disputes. Around 1982 through 1983, he reportedly worked for clients like Spanish actress / Harris Ana Obregón, helping her recover millions lost in the 1982 Drysdale government securities collapse. He was not poor, but he also was not yet the multimillionaire he became in the 1990s. At that stage, he was financially comfortable, but still hustling for his big break. But he is also holding balloons, an object in the air, holding the balloons alongside the lollipop. The lollipop, I want to know, is not simply a red circle. It also has a blue line going down at the tip, which could just be an accident when coloring the background they are in, which is in blue. But this is kind of strange, and it seems to be the biggest accident on the page. The bigger drawing on the right depicts Epstein way later in 2003. He is now much older with gray hair. This time he is laid back, getting a tan with a full smile, not worrying about a thing and not wearing a thing, as 4 blonde women surround him. And one of them is covering his, his balloons turned into a Boeing 727. In the air, it's Island Jeff now with a helicopter. He now has more to offer than just some balloons and a lollipop. He now has to offer an entire mansion of secrets. What a great country is the cherry on top. They feel invincible and invisible and above laws and morality. You were seriously easygoing, never uptight, never worried, always confident. That aspect of your personality, of course coupled with your brilliance and intellect, is what made you who and what you are today. That don't give a shit attitude, your calculated aloofness, your sense of humor, and most importantly, that confidence came to you early on. You had to have confidence and an I don't give a shit attitude to bring Redacted into your Seagate world. It worked. You began to realize that you could get away with shit, that chicks and people in general were schmucks. You sensed that you were sharper and more astute than most, especially the ones who had women, money, position, and power. Yes, your charisma and persuasive ways came very early on, and you didn't learn life's lessons in your house. You learned them from us, me, Frog, we, from Europe, Interlochen, our trips to the city, and all the people you met along the way.